Today we're going to talk about Young Justice. Hey everyone, and welcome back. I'm your host MK, and today on MK Rants we will be talking about Young Justice, a cartoon that kind of has been on and off over these past couple years, but recently I binged it, and I want to talk about it today. So we're going to start off with season recaps, because that's important. So, by the way, major spoilers, obviously. This is going to be a long one. Season 1. We start off with the basic introduction where we meet Robin. This Robin is Dick Grayson, Aqualad, Kid Flash, and Speedy. Keep note of Speedy this entire season. Getting ready to be integrated into the League, though not fully because they are still sidekicks, so that sucks. Speedy gets mad and storms off because he's mad that he's not going to be a main part of the League. So cut to Robin, Aqualad, and Kid Flash going to investigate this organization called Cadmus. Robin hacked into the Justice League computer system because there's a Justice League computer in the Hall of Justice. Shenanigans happen and they discover that there are 52 levels underneath the cover-up of the main Cadmus lab. So, behold, they look at a map because Robin hacked the system, obviously, and they noticed a project titled KR. So naturally, they decide to go investigate, and boom, they find Superboy, who is a clone of Superman, however not fully, whose Kryptonian DNA is mixed with human DNA. So, it's also important to note that they stole Superman's DNA for this. Cadmus is also hiding the fact that they are creating and cloning these creatures called xenomorphs. Skipping over some stuff, and oh look, they made it out, and they managed to destroy most of Cadmus. For reasons, because they had to escape, xenomorphs, they're technically weapons. Also, KR stands for Krypton, because, Wally West is a nerd, and, KR is the atomic symbol of Krypton. And, the League, once they get there, is like, wow, okay, y'all can be on a team together along with Superboy, who they rescued, obviously. They get a cool new base. It's a whole mountain. They get a whole mountain base, and it's called Mount Justice. I know, really creative. They also get a new teammate at the last minute of the second episode because rescuing Superboy took 2 episodes. And drumroll, it's Miss Martian, Martian Manhunter's niece. Flashing forward a bit more, the team is settling in, and Superboy and Miss Martian start school, so Miss M becomes Megan Moores, and SB becomes Connor Kent. Miss Martian helped him with the name. Going forward, we're in Bialia. This show loves to make up countries, so you're going to see that as a theme here. So, to get context of what's going on, we also have a new member of the team named Artemis, Green Arrow's niece. Not really, so she's here too. Here we meet some of the villains. We also meet Biosphere, which is a piece of tech from Genesis, the opposing world to Apocalypse, and we also see Boom Tubes. That later become important, and this basically means that the villains are importing weapons from Apocalypse. We also get a Miss M and SB almost kiss, skipping over a bit more here because I don't have time while I do. I don't have the energy to go word for word of the season. We find out that a group of villains this season is known as the Light. Also, side note, Lex Luthor is part of the Light. I mean, who could have guessed? Also, I think at this point we revealed that Lex Luthor is kind of Superboy's father. It's his DNA and Superman's DNA. It's weird. I don't understand it, but I have no idea. And then after some shenanigans, again, we have Miss M and SB's ship sailing. They are together. That episode was weird. And I don't want to get into it. Then we have some fights, and then League members start to get possessed by some technology developed by the Light. We found out that Speedy is a clone. Also, Speedy now is Red Arrow. It's also worth mentioning here that there was a plot line where Red Arrow thought that there was a person giving important information on, the team to the Light. We find out that Red Arrow was the mole, and more shenanigans happen, and the squad wins. However, the main members of the Justice League, Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman, Hawkgirl, and Martian Manhunter went unaccounted for 6 hours during that period. So, Season 2. Season 2 starts 5 years later. Time skips are also super popular in the show. And behold, the League still has yet to figure out what happened over those 6 hours. It's been 5 years. Y'all think y'all should have this. So this season we get to meet, oh gosh, Black Lightning, Blue Beetle, Beast Boy, and a new Robin. I think it's Jason Todd in this season, but I'm not sure. And a few others. Also worth noting, Beast Boy is kind of like Miss Martian's half-brother, as in season 1 we got to meet Garfield Logan and his mom. It's a good episode, it's wholesome, but due to some shenanigans, Beast Boy needs a blood transfusion, and Miss Martian kind of can change her blood to match a person's blood type. Thus why Beast Boy is like a half-brother, and honestly, their beautiful sibling relationship, love that for them. So, you know, yeah, that's that. So, the light is still going on because we love long-spanning villains over this series of a show. Yet this time we have a new threat, and it's aliens. Ooh, okay. The aliens here are called the Reach, but before that, we have some time. We got better use of our time, so we're gonna take a detour really quick. We start off with a time skip, so you know, because the show loves relationship issues, Miss M and SB broke up. So instead, Miss Martian is dating this weird dude named Lagan, who is Atlantean. And Aqualad is working with Black Manta for reasons, and they fake kill Artemis, and Red Arrow is looking for the real Roy Harper with the help of Cheshire, who is his ex-wife. Also, he has a kid now. Cheshire is the mother. Also, Cheshire is Artemis' sister. Their dad is sports master. It gets weird. Then they find the real Roy Harper, who has a crisis. He becomes Arsenal, and then Mount Justice gets blown up, and then the Reach show up. Also, Flash's grandson, Bart Allen, shows up because the future is sad and he wanted to fix it. Flash, at this point, does not have kids. However, he finds out through Bart that his wife is pregnant. It's so weird. So moving forward, we find out that the scarab on Blue Beetle's back is actually Reach tech, and for some reason it seems to no longer be under control of the Reach. Also, they were abducting children to run experiments on. This is for what is known as the metagene. The concept boils down to the idea that the metagene controls whether or not you have superpowers. It's possible that you can activate the metagene, but also not everyone has it. So, you know, that's normal. Also, one of Blue Beetle's friends gets kidnapped. There's evil Beetles, Green and Black. Green manages to slip past Miss Martian's mind reading because he's a Martian. Stuff happens. They cleanse Blue and Green of the Reach's control because because Green ended up, I don't know, it was weird. Artemis and Aqualad are found out, but it's all good, fam. More stuff happens. We found out that the 6 hours of the main League members were missing. It turns out they attacked a planet. Stuff happens. The light where the people who invited the Reach onto Earth. Yada yada yada. They defeat the Reach. The Reach just decide to leave. Wally dies, so Artemis is sad, and the League is having some issues. So then, boom. Season 3. Here we go. Meta-human trafficking is a big part of the season. And we start off, however, with the Justice League, but not on a happy note, as most of them decide to quit, notably Batman and Wonder Woman. We have some more problems. Miss M and SB are back together now, and they're engaged. We cut to this country called Makovia. I think this is a native country. They love to make up countries on the show. And we get to see the murder of the king and queen of Makovia. And we also learn that the heir of Makovia by birthright is only 16 minutes older than his fraternal twin, Prince Brion. They also have a sister named Tara, who was kidnapped a few years back. She was kidnapped due to the rise of meta-teen trafficking, like I had mentioned earlier. We see Brion asking the family physician to help him activate his metagene. We see Black Lightning have a crisis because of all that's happening, but he decides to help Nightwing and a few others on a mission to help investigate a tip about Markovia's metagene trafficking. They just can't go in because Lex Luthor, who's not a chairman for the UN, I think, put up a ton of restrictive laws against crime fighting and vigilante activity that affects the League members the most. Also, Beast Boy is an actor now. We also go back to the squad going into Markovia, and Nightwing and Artemis go to the funeral / pre-coronation for obvious reasons. That is when we see Brion leave and end up in the shifty facility under a children's hospital, which is a perfect place for a child abduction to happen because it's a children's hospital. At the same time, Artemis and Sphere meet a new person who was the one servant who led the assassin of the king and queen of Markovia into the royal palace. However, she remembers nothing. Artemis takes her along, and she and Spear have this strange connection right off the bat, which is wholesome. Going back to Brion and the others, so Brion activates his energy through Forest as B gets captured, and some battling happens. And then we find out that Brion's uncle, who became the advisor for Brion's brother, as he is not, Then we find out that Brion's uncle, who became the advisor for Brion's brother, as he is not 18 yet, and I think Brion is 17, but I think that, the girl that Artemis and Sphere found is 16. Her name is Violet. I'm just gonna put this here because I don't have the energy to explain it later. We find out that Brion's uncle activated his Metagene along with Brion has something that is earth, ground, rock based. His uncle can turn it into stone, and Brion can turn the ground into lava, and can also cover himself in lava or rock. So through this, we can assume that Tara has something along these lines, along the lines of Brion and his uncle, as it seems to be a family trait. Then we cut to more fighting, and SB stops Brion from murdering his uncle. He doesn't. Moving forward, Violet and Brion now live in, when I say he doesn't, Brion actually didn't murder his uncle till later, in the season. We'll get to that in a bit. So, Violet and Brion now live at Bioship, along with this sentient bug from New Genesis, because Miss Anne went to New Genesis or something, and they found out that her brother, whose name I don't feel like butchering, was impersonating Orion. So the Hive, as Forager called it, he's the bug, by the way. It got messy. Also lives in Bioship. Actually, I'm wrong. Violet lives with Artemis, Will, Red Arrow, aka Clone Speedy, and his daughter. Will is Red Arrow, but instead of his name being Roy, it's just Will. He wanted to change it. Eventually, we find Tara. We find Tara, who is now Tara, and we discover Cyborg, who Violet meets because Violet is the soul of a mother box in a human body. She can also change aura colors so they can do different things. I forget what color does the boom tube thing, because she do boom tubes. And we find that Cyborg is infused with a Father Box. What's the difference? Mother Box is part of New Genesis, but a Father Box is part of Apocalypse. So Beast Boy forms a team, and this stuff happens, and then boom, Brion kills his uncle. So Beast Boy has trauma, Violet and Brion break up, Tara becomes part of the Outsiders, which is Beast Boy's team, and I have no idea what went through the writer's head during the finale, but it was not the best. Season 4, the best way to describe the season is, there's Phantom Zone and time travel, and Superboy's dead, but not really. There's Zod Jr., it's weird, Zatanna, Fate, Helmet, Vandal Savage. I genuinely do not understand Season 4. It's good, but I don't understand it. So, my thoughts as a whole on the series is Violet is the best character. Their development is wonderful. They start to explore their orientation and gender identity and that's awesome. One of the first times we see this is when they were having a convo with Artemis, and I think they state that they don't really feel like a girl. She also kisses Livewire, whose name I forget, and she doesn't hate it. Then, after she gets some closure with Brion, even though he's a jerk, now she calls Livewire and asks if they can meet up later. She's a college now, by the way. This is very good. Also, I also forgot to write this down, but Violet is also discovering their, religion, as Gabrielle, Violet's body was Muslim, right? And so she wore the hijab. Now, thanks to stuff, and thanks to I forget who, but Gabrielle's cousin and mom end up living in Happy Harbor in this nice house, trying to get stuff going, and basically Violet goes to her and is like, what is Islam? And why do you wear the hijab? What does it mean to you? And it's a very interesting thing, because I think out of all the characters, Violet is the one who has been getting probably the most development as a character this whole season, as she comes from basically remembering nothing to feeling guilty about not being Gabrielle and kind of just being a a mother box kind of infused to a person. It's also interesting because you see how, even though the way we see Livewire and Violet kiss wasn't my favorite, as it happened when Brown and they were still together, and, you know, Livewire was going through some stuff, it still wasn't too bad. I thought that arc or that thing was going to go to somewhere very dark, and I was not excited for that, but it turned out very good, and I honestly cannot complain about it. However, I do wish that Violet and Brion were to get back together, as they had a very stable relationship that was very supportive, and that really only changed when Brion ended up murdering his uncle and kind of forming a coup, so that way he got power over his brother, even though his twin brother is actually older than him. Tara does get tried, but she ends up deciding to, she ends up being kind of found guilty because of the circumstances that led to her kind of being a villain. Not really, but Slade was kind of in control of her. That didn't last for long, though, and she kind of just became a really good character as well, and her kind of, like, punishment is continuing to do good with the Outsiders as a squad, and I think that also is really good. Brion's brother is not really brought in any way. He kind of just stuck in LA now because he left, and I think that his uncle or someone, I can't remember, just was like, oh my gosh, he's been kidnapped, and so he's kind of stuck now. Honestly, I have no idea. The show also got much more violent once season 3 hit. That's not a bad thing, but it is something to note, especially if you like to watch this with, like, a younger sibling or a younger kid in the house. I wouldn't really recommend it. I think originally the first season or 2 was actually aired on, Cartoon Network, but season 3 I think is when they switched over to being an HBO Max original, so that kind of led to that kind of gave them the okay to be a little bit more violent in what they do. So you see the dead bodies of the king and queen. You see Violet get murdered so many times, because part of being a mother box is that they have the ability to heal themselves. So as long as she's not as long as they're not completely like as long as they haven't, like, lost a limb or haven't lost their head, they can revive themselves, which is dope as heck, but I think they kind of just overexploited this mechanism a bit, and I think that they get kind of redundant, and I think they were just trying to make it a staple, which I'm personally not the biggest fan of. Season 3 is by far my favorite. All the characters are great, the animation is wonderful, and though I don't think it ended in the strongest way it could have, it still wasn't as bad as I think it could have been, which is a very good plus for me. Season 4 is so confusing. I just didn't care about all the different perspectives because it just got so crazy, and I couldn't keep track of everything. We go from Mars to Zod Jr. to Earth to Mars to Zod Jr. to Mars, the Phantom Zone, and it's exhausting. We also have a lot of time travel in season 4 for, like, the first 24 episodes, so we have to, sit and, just stare at everything, confused, because Zod Jr. is from the future. There's I can't explain it to you because I just couldn't understand it. It's a good season, and they animated it very nicely. I think the Phantom Zone is super pretty the way they animated it, especially because we never really see the inside of the Phantom Zone. I think that's great, but it was so much to keep track of. Zatanna has her own thing, and it's exhausting. And it's exhausting as well. I can't keep track of it. 2 episodes I kind of just dedicated in part to Vandal Savage, and all I learned from those episodes was Vandal Savage is basically the founder of every important civilization you could possibly have, and Naboo at one point was Vandal Savage's son. Naboo, by the way, is the god in the helmet in Dr. Fate's helmet. I can't explain it because it's so weird, and I keep saying that because it's true. And season 4 is confusing, which is why I didn't even bother to write down summary notes, because it was just I couldn't figure it out, because I just couldn't be I couldn't be like, yeah, that's fair. That is like completely what it is. Like this makes so much sense to me. It was just, I don't understand what's going on, but I'm gonna pretend that I do for reasons. But honestly, it wasn't too bad of a season, and I browsed and I got through it relatively quickly. I don't really have anything else to say. Another thing I will note though is Cyborg. We meet him, right? But we meet him as a person, and then an explosion happens at his dad's lab, and after they uncover his body, it is so... That scene is traumatizing, because, like, you see, like, half his body blown off, and it is a lot to take in, and it is traumatizing. And it's violent. Like, it's not violent, it's just... You have to go into that episode, like, kind of knowing what you're getting into, because it does look super, like, I can't even, oh my gosh, it is, don't even, don't, I can't talk about it anymore. Anyway, looking through the stuff I have in my notes, do I recommend the show? Yes, absolutely. I recommend it. I think it's wonderful, and honestly, I think it is. I think in a sense it was the later seasons tried to go for a Justice League or a Justice League Unlimited angle, which is great. And I think if you think about it, it kind of does show through, especially in the characters. Personally, I like the lineup of the classic Justice League characters in the show. Aquaman is not a founding Justice League member, and neither is Cyborg. You cannot change my mind on that, because it doesn't sit right with me. Maybe it's because I'm so attached to the lineup from, like the Justice League cartoon, but, like, I have no words. I think the lineup is great. I skipped over a lot of information in this because while the season recaps are super spoilery, I did kind of want to like keep some of like plot and mystery for you guys to explore and watch. If you watched the show, let me know what you think of it. If you haven't, I would recommend it. And if you just enjoyed listening to me ramble, thank you so much. Thank you all so much for listening. Bye bye.